everyone, and it's a lovely evening indeed. And we have with us Pete and Shirli with us, which makes it even more lovelier. But before we start off and we can start this fireside, there's a short video which tells us why we are better together. So why don't we get right to it?
This is my first time addressing everybody as the leader of the business. So we are building a multi-billion-dollar global brand in the professional services space, and there are very, very few companies like this.
Every day, people really make me feel appreciated.
And she's in, and alley-oop, back ramp goes up. You can see her looking over her shoulder just to make sure. And she just scoots on. Hey, Bree, how about one of those?
Could you share some interesting advice that you guys have received so far?
Well, Mihir called me specifically last week and said, drink a lot of water next week. Because apparently we picked one of the hottest weeks of the year to come. So that was good advice. And then don'ts. We really got a lot of don'ts. I think people want us to try everything out.
Okay, I have a don't. So hi everybody, I'm Pete. Nice to meet you if I haven't met you yet. That's Shirley. I got some good advice today, which was don't go looking for tigers on foot. Make sure you get use the Jeep and take a guide. So that was good advice.
Nobody else needed that advice except
Oh, that was definitely very interesting. We'll remember that one now for sure. So I think it's given that all of us come from, I think, the backgrounds, we have a mixed crowd here. So interestingly, people do want to know how your early days were, your education, your career. Just if you could just give us a brief about it.
So education, I am a nerd at the core. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in statistics. And from there, I went and started my career at Capital One. So I was a statistician there, and that was sort of where I was raised in analytics technique and kind of my foundations. And then have been at Merkle for almost 17 years. So spent a lot of time entirely in analytics actually, which is very rare for Merkle. Kind of thinking through the evolution of analytics and what that means, and starting at the very core from what we used to do, which was really just building models, to everything and all of the different capabilities that we have today.
Thank you. So my degree was in marketing. Good? Okay. My degree was in marketing, which makes the microphone ring apparently. And my first job was in consulting, strategy consulting, and that was in sort of 94, 93, 94, 95, when the internet, you had to go to, there was dedicated laptops or desktops to go to access the internet, which looked kind of like LexisNexis, like the browser was just starting to come out. and I recognized that that was something that was going to be significant, and so I went to work for a digital agency in '96, and actually through a few acquisitions wound up staying at that agency all the way through, first working in strategy, then moving into client services, and then sort of general management. And that became Razor Fish ultimately. So I spent 18 years there, and have spent the last few years sort of looking for the next home, a place where I really felt like had the potential to be significant and make a big impact. And what I love about Merkle and what drew me to it was extremely business-focused culture, driven culture, very focused on doing great work and pushing for innovation, but also really collaborative and a place that wanted to support each other. So it's been a great journey so far.
Thank you so much for that. There's again the belief that every successful person has a success mantra that they fall back to. So, do you have anything that you do fall back on, and what would that be?
Okay. No, okay. So I don't know if I have just one, but I think that something in my career that has been very important to me in my success is the relationships that I've built with the people that I work with. I think it's extremely important. I don't think I'd be where I am today without a lot of the relationships that I built early on and ongoing, because I think even as a junior analyst, I was friends with all the other junior analysts, and we would teach each other, right? And I learned about different areas of the business that I didn't touch at all through those relationships. And then as we continued to grow, keeping and fostering those relationships and learning about completely other areas that they've moved into, and then how do we collaborate and how do we grow each other's areas. And so I think knowing your coworkers and building those relationships and that trust is extremely important.
Yeah. Is this one more? Let's try this one. I want to build on that, because for me it has been about the people and building those relationships for sure, but it's also been about, I think, trusting the people and empowering them to do their job and you doing your job. It's sort of that. I heard this morning, I was asking about the UGM culture and what was special about it. One of the things I heard was accountability and people taking that accountability. And I've definitely found that part of the success that I've been lucky enough to have has been about taking accountability and owning things, but also about trusting the people around me. And it's those relationships have really, been part of the fun, I think, of it. It's part of what I like about this business is that, I guess, let me just build on that, because I think being curious is another part, because that's what I enjoy. There's so many people with different points of view and different expertise that they can bring to the table, and learning from them has been part of the joy and part of the success too, I think.
Well, with that, I'll hand it over to Vinay.
Yeah, so just shifting focus beat to business, how do you see Merkle being positioned in the market as a provider of multiple services, and maybe you could also throw light in terms of the recent acquisitions, how does that influence Merkle's position?
Yeah, good question. Like Merkle, I think where we want to be positioned is as a leader in CX transformation. And for me, what that means for our clients is becoming more customer-centric in everything that they do, and putting it at the core of who they are and what they do, and having their business orient around it. So many businesses are not oriented around the customer, even though they want to be and they say they are. Actually doing that is really hard. And part of that, I think, also is putting innovation at the core of who they are and understanding that the way to innovate is through understanding their customers better. And then I guess the last bit of that is also putting agility at the core of who they are, and learning as an organization that they're really now in the software business, even though they may not think they are. Their job is to manage all those software platforms and have them enable customer centricity, business success, and growth. And the acquisitions have been all at different points of the customer journey, helping to bring together, either tied closely to amazing partners like Salesforce and others. Hybris is another one. If you look at Live Area, right, Salesforce and Hybris, but also in an area, commerce, where we see a ton of growth and opportunity. So the acquisitions that we'll continue to look at in the future are ones that bring both, I think, a connection to those partners, but also a connection to new capability that we may not otherwise have.
Follow-up question was to Shirli. Given that, how does analytics and technology fit into Merkle's strategy, which is the business you're leading?
So I think it gives analytics and tech a huge opportunity, because a lot of the businesses that Pete was just mentioning don't have mature analytics practices within them. So our ability to grow analytics and to be able to integrate what we do from an analytics and technology standpoint into that space is a great opportunity for everyone here. And it's really taking all of the core stuff that we already do and just figuring out the proper application of it. So I think it's an easy win for us.
Maybe as a segue to that, Shirli, we know that you created a play to win strategy. Some of us have had a view to that. Would be great if you can talk through some of those elements, and I know you put thought behind taking those 5 elements, so it would be great to hear from you.
So some of the, and I hope some of you have seen this already, but some of the key areas that I think we really want to focus on, the sort of theme behind it is future-proofing analytics and understanding what I think are areas of risk for us and for the business in the near future, and then also where the market is headed, and sort of being able to, make sure we're ready for that. So there's a couple of areas, and I'll consolidate, I don't look into each of the 5, but there's a couple of areas where I think we're really focusing. So one is around the technology, right? Everything moving to the cloud, cookies going away, and how do we really think about that? And so within the play to win, within the areas that we're focusing on, it's really, how do we as analytics make sure that we are cloud enabled, make sure that we are at the forefront of what that technology means, and then also offering and creating solutions that factor in all of these different changes in the marketplace and what's going away. Another area that I think is really important for us to focus is our actual engagement model with customers. So a lot of people have in-house analytics teams now, and what does that mean for us, and how can we continue to offer our services, but in different ways that are still really relevant? So whether that means more consulting, whether that means thinking about offshoring in new ways, which is great for this team, right? Because I think that you guys are our future and our growth in the way that we interact with more and more clients. And then finally, I think there's been a big push for us this year around ethics within our space, and ethical AI in particular. And this is something that I see as emerging in the marketplace right now, and again, is thinking about what's going to happen in the next few years, and how are we at the forefront of that, and educating our clients, and then helping them in their journey towards making sure that a lot of the things that we do within AI are ethical and visible to clients.
I think especially the last part, there's a lot of curiosity within the sort of data science community also, and like I said, it's an emerging area, so I'm sure that a lot of people in this room happy to collaborate and create something.
I would love that.
You're just playing yeah. So, Pete, interestingly, what would success look like for Merkle in a couple of years, and how do you think we would or we can help with that?
Well, first, it's interesting just thinking about this moment in time, right? When I started in the 90s, all of the things that we were pitching to our clients, the technology could not actually do it at that time, but now it can. And so now, as you look forward into sort of Web 3.0, that has been a big part of the conversation, and the metaverse and where it's headed, it's not going to happen for 5 to 10 years, right? But the elements of it are, and our job is to make sure we're staying out ahead of it for our clients and help them chart their futures in this new world of tech as new capabilities come online and are make new things possible, new kinds of customer experiences possible. And this team here is such. So I think success for us is the ability to help our clients navigate that future, right? And I think as part of that, we should be growing massively, right? Because we've got so many capabilities to bring together. I think that's a second aspect of it is part of the beauty of Merkle, including Ugam, is that we've got all these incredible capabilities, but selling them to our clients, bringing them together into one solution that's going to drive outcomes is the hard part. And that's another, I think, big pillar of success. And I think for us, just back to that vision of bringing to life all these technologies and capabilities for our clients, Ugam is such a critical part of helping clients to understand what is working and what's possible, right? It's such an interesting mix of understanding and interpreting the data, but also making new capabilities possible with the data. So I think Ugam is absolutely central to Merkle's future success.
Thank you. And Shirli, we were going to look at this from an analytics lens. What would you have to say then?
Well, obviously grow. I think that's the number one metric, right? Because not only to grow, but to grow. I personally would love to grow at a faster pace than the rest of the groups. I think that we have a unique ability to do that, given where we are in the marketplace, given our offerings, and given the fact that there are these new capabilities that have come in that don't necessarily have strong analytics at their core. So I do think that a key area of success for me is growth, but then more broad growth into all of these different areas.
The audience now?
Yes, so
Ashwin first.
Hi Shirli, hi Pradeep. I had two questions actually. The first one was, so we're all exposed to the CXM side of the business, right? So what about the creative side? So how does that fit into CXM, and how do you sort of leverage the larger creative business that Denso has to existing clients? That's the first question.
Should we answer? Look, I think, first of all, there's a lot of creative business within Merkle, right? And I think we've got a lot of opportunity to tap into that. I always view design, tech, and data as like the three core pillars of capability, and they should each influence each other and impact each other. And I think we have so much opportunity to bring that to life. And I also think within the broader creative community at Dentsu, it's something I'm trying to sort out. I would love your input. I mean, I'm working with Amex right now, meeting with their CMO to talk about how we can bring together the work Merkle is doing and the work that the creative team is doing, so that we can show that sort of vision for how creative can be data powered. And I don't think we've cracked that code yet, but I think that's work to be done.
Thanks. My second question, so Shirli, you mentioned about growth, right? So given that Merkle has like a huge list of clients, obviously we're going to have a long tail of client engagement that are smaller. So what is your strategy to increase presence in that sort of long tail list of clients?
Well, so I think there's a couple of different strategies. There's not really one answer, but I think that we want to have a combination of sort of solutions that we can sell that are very easy and quick to implement, that are going to be very easy for that long tail to buy into, right? So as opposed to trying to make every client, this huge analytics client, there's going to be some that are small and still deserve our attention, but like let's sell in the right way to those. And then on the flip side, I think that there's actually a lot of clients within Merkle that are really big, substantial clients that don't have analytics or don't have substantial analytics. And that's where we also need to focus and say, how do we grow those and how do we bring in the right bespoke solutions for those clients specifically for that growth?
I mean, I think you're hitting on the opportunity for us. We have so many clients, right? And we will continue to focus on new logo, but we need to make sure we're putting more energy into our existing base of clients. They love us. We're doing great work for them. Our TRR scores are really high. We need to lean in and continue to build those relationships and move upstream as well and drive more value.
Right. That's all from me. Thank you.
So I was just thinking about the 4 C's that we talk about when it comes to return to office, right? So we talk about better, why we're better together in terms of better culture, better congregation, then it is about some feminist partner. What's the other one? Collaboration. So can you talk about any recent instances that you might have noticed in any of the Merkle companies, where it's been better together in terms of these 4 C's? And it would probably not happen if we continue to work at home, so what do you talk about any one of those instances?
I just want to make sure I understand the question. You're saying specifically around being together in person, or just in general where we're seeing?
Back to office?
Well, Shirli's got
So, I don't know if a lot of you are aware, but we last month in New York had an analytics leadership meeting in person. And it was the first time that we brought all of the capability leads in from both UGAM and from Merkle Core. And that's a meeting I've wanted to have for over 3 years now. And we finally were able to do it in person. And the outcomes from that are amazing. I don't know if you've heard from Nadine or others that have been there, but the ability to sit in a room and really just collaborate, right? Talk about our capabilities, talk about what we have in common and what some of the links are between different areas of work that we're doing that are kind of in silos, because everybody's just charging ahead on their stuff, which is great. Everybody has very strong focus, but when we take a beat and we sit together in a room and we try to figure out, hey, what are the things that we could be doing that really amplify each other? I think the work that came out of that and the opportunities that we saw are enormous. So that's one really key area that if we hadn't been in the room together, I don't think that would have been successful.
Yeah, I would just build on that. With when we acquired Live Area, so my previous role was in running the experience and commerce practice. We acquired Live Area and brought them together with 4 other different parts of the organization that also were sort of independent. And so getting that group together face to face to talk about the vision and the culture we want to build was foundational. It wouldn't have happened that quickly. And there's still a lot of work to do. It's not all perfect, but we were able to accelerate things because we brought everyone together in person, face to face. It makes a big difference in terms of building relationships. And I think the challenge we've got sort of across all of Merkle is if you look, even in the US, half of the revenue is coming from sort of Merkle Core, as Shirli said, and half is coming from different entities that have been acquired. So that means, there's lots of challenges in terms of ways of working and how we collaborate on clients. We talked about that, but also culturally, how do we all sort of bring the best of each of the cultures together into a new Merkle culture so we all, are part of this new thing and together. It's a massive challenge and it requires some of that face time.
Thanks, Pete. Just have one further follow-up question on the return to office scenario, right? So one of the challenges that we face out here is of young parents with small kids at home, and they don't have a support system to kind of, someone to care for the kids if both of them are at work, right? Just wondering if you've had similar experiences where you come from and what's been the solve, if at all, for that?
Well, so far it has been mostly people making a choice on when they come back into the office, right? I think as we sort of restart and everyone starts coming back in, it does mean sort of building in those support systems that they had, several years ago but don't have now. But I can't address that one specifically. I think it's a general challenge that we're all working through together. Do you have any solutions?
Maybe not solutions, but just I can commiserate. I have 2 kids, and being at home during COVID, especially when they were home and not in school, I get it. So I was on meetings, on screen, And my daughter, who was, at the beginning of COVID in first grade, was screaming from her room that she lost her Zoom connection and she needs help. And, how do you juggle all of that? And so I completely understand. I didn't have a support system either. My family is, I don't know if all of you know this, but they're in Israel, so no family members close by. So I completely understand. And, the one thing that I will say that is really nice that we all have is flexibility. Right, and I think that what's great about working at Ugam, Merkle, Dentsu is that ability to be flexible. And there were many times where I was like, okay, I need to stop for an hour, I need to deal with the kids, and it's very easy for me to do that and then come back later and do what I need to do. So not necessarily a solution, but just we understand and we understand how it is.
I just want to say that your visits here is probably a first step to sort of breaking that barrier after the pandemic. So thank you for coming. I think this will hopefully lead to more visits and more visits both ways at least. Any other questions from the audience?
I have a question on the ethical AI side. So there are a lot of tools now which are available to do post-hoc model analysis and data observability. But there is a voice that says that there is need for regulation from governments as well as there needs to be a set industry-wide standard. What is your view on that?
My view is that eventually that's going to happen, and that's sort of why we want to be ahead of it and saying that we already have the right techniques and the ability to do that now. So when we think about ethical AI, it's not just about doing validation, which a lot of people are doing, but it's actually how you build a model, the ongoing validation. And I do think that at some point, and it might not necessarily be in the US in the beginning, it might start in other regions that are typically more privacy focused anyway, but eventually this is going to either be regulated or at least have enough focus and attention to it where brands are going to want to say that they are doing AI in an ethical manner. So I think for us, it's a unique opportunity right now where we already have the ability to do some of this stuff. We have teams both here and in the US that have already put some of this into practice. And so I don't actually think that we're doing anything that nobody else can do. But I do think that we are calling attention to it first and saying that it's important and that this is how we're going to operate. So I think I think everybody will catch up eventually.
Hi Shirli, hi Pete. Sorry, I don't think this is working now. I think I'm loud enough anyway. Hi, I'm Sai. I'm a part of the talent acquisition team. I've just joined. So I just want to understand with the entire GD, and I understand how the talent acquisition team is going to be spaced out, and talent being one of the most important part, for Merkle, Dentsu, and Ugam from a growth perspective. How do you see the fungibility of talent, from an ITDN perspective, going forward for the next maybe 2-3 or from a future perspective?
Yeah, this one works. So welcome, first of all, and thanks for your work. We definitely need talent acquisition to be really strong here. I think ultimately I view all of Dentsu as a platform where we want employees to be able to build, do the best work of their lives, right, and build amazing careers here. And it's on us to be able to give people opportunities to work on new opportunities, new challenges, new clients, be client-facing, be driving solutions, have the ability to move to different countries, work in different places. So I think, there's a lot of energy going across Dentsu into how do we help people map their careers and understand the opportunities that are out there. And we'll continue on those efforts because it's critical for us. I think having talent that stays here and works in different places and has different opportunities and challenges, it just makes the whole fabric of Dentsu much stronger. So it's a big focus.
Thanks. Just a follow-up question to that. Do you think over a period of time we'll land up in a situation of we'll be in a place where we say, okay, this is the skill set needed, and irrespective of whichever location, we look for talent rather than anything else, and that's how we function.
So yes is the short answer. The longer answer is that requires a lot of continuity in how we work, right? And so I think we want to move towards that. I think that's the vision, right? That's the goal. I think it's just going to take time to get there. We were just talking about, media mix modeling and it happening in 3 different ways across 3 different continents. I think there's got to be continuity in how we deliver our services and how we work together. Part of what excites me about the way that Ugam has delivered work is the team here is really client-facing, is selling the work, is solutioning, is delivering it. We want to continue to build on that model, right? And so the more that, I think the ideal that you laid out there is exactly where we want to go. It's just going to take time to get there.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I work in technology space. My question mainly is related to mobility. So today, if you look at the world, everybody wears a smartwatch or some sort of a tracker. We have all of us have mobiles, and at home probably you have 1 or 2 devices, like Alexa or some Echo device or something that is already connected to the internet, IoT. So in terms of analytics and marketing, how do you see Ugam and Merkle play a role in gathering all that data, because that is a treasure trove, right? And then how do you see us not being that intrusive in terms of gathering the data and then actually making it action? Don't pass the mic.
So let me just repeat the question because I'm not sure I fully got it. So you said there's lots of data out there that may be data related to devices we're wearing or behaviors we're taking on, whatever it might be. How do we see ourselves in helping our clients to navigate that space of capturing that data and make use of it? This may be a better question for Shirli to answer, but I will give it a shot. I think, look, there's so much value in all of the data that's out there that is not getting leveraged, and I think it's our job to help our clients make sense of what data is important, what they should be looking at, and what data doesn't matter. If you look at traffic data in a store, you look at individual data and behaviors. There's so much value out there, but there's more data than there is value, and I think the first job is to help clients understand what they should be leveraging. And then it's our job to then interpret it and help them figure out where to invest going forward. But I see just a ton of runway for us in that space. I happen to love that space and be fascinated by it, but Shirley really wants to answer. She's ready.
So, and I'll start out by saying, I don't know how this is going to evolve because this is kind of a new space. My guess is that there's going to be certain clients that have it as their own data, and then that's going to be super powerful in all of the customer journey work that we do, the value work that we do, the predictions that we do, everything. And then there's going to be companies that don't own that data, and because of privacy and other reasons, we're not going to be able to have it at an individual level. But that doesn't mean we can't use that data for other, things like marketing mix models and things like that, where you can still have a ton of value from that data. It's just going to be at a microsegment level potentially, and not at an individual level. So I do think we're going to continue to use that data more and more and more. It just depends on the client how we're going to be able to take advantage of it and leverage it.
I hate a pile on, but I'm going to do it anyway. The one other thing I would say is we need to keep our focus on value to the customer or the consumer. Ultimately, that's what we need to help our clients, is make sure they're creating the right value exchange with their audiences. And so I think if we keep that as the center and the focus for us, we'll always be headed in the right direction.
Maybe one last question. Hey, hi. My name is Lynn. I'm from the Learning and Development team. My question to you is, what are your plans for diversity, equity and inclusion? And how we as LND team and as well as leadership team can help you?
And I think we're probably both going to say the same thing, so I'll start and you can do his favorite thing of pile them. So first of all, DE&I is extremely important to us as a leadership team, to me personally. I think that we have a responsibility to make sure that all of us are thinking about it. And so we have specific metrics and goals around it, and it's a big initiative for us. But I think everyone in this room can help by thinking about it when you're recruiting, thinking about it when you're hiring, thinking about it when you're in the office and interacting with your coworkers. I think that every single person has a role to play. And what I will also say is that analytics is way ahead of the game. So I think we're going to continue that because, like I said, it's super important. And I think that is a big goal that both at the Dentsu level and at the Merkle leadership level we've set for ourselves.
Yeah, just two quick things. We've laid out very specific KPIs for the U.S. market, at least, right, in terms of goals that we want to accomplish. So we're really measuring everything and doing a good job, I think, of making sure that we're moving towards that. The other thought is more of a general one, which is I talked about that idea of people coming here to do the best work of their lives. They can't do that if they don't feel safe, if they don't feel included, if they don't feel like they can bring their whole selves to work. So for me, that's what's behind it. It's creating a place that's amazing where people feel super comfortable and like they belong. And so that's the goal. And then we've got, as I said, the KPIs to make sure we're tracking towards it.
Just on time. So Shirli, thank you so much for first of all being so energetic after reaching at 1:30 at Bangalore, 3 a.m. at the hotel. I don't know how many cups of coffee has kept you going. We really appreciated your visit here. It means a lot to us. Hope this is the first of many. Thanks for all that. Shirli's been there. Yeah, I know.
So I just want to say thank you. I was told that the team here would be incredibly welcoming, and you have. It's been a great visit so far, even after only a few hours. So I'm looking forward to getting to know you all better and really appreciate your time today. So thank you.
Thank you.